first off, Justin, thank you so much for joining me for this another edition of the Relays Toolbox. Really excited to kind of get in, talk about your company, what you guys are building. I got to meet your team at Tathion's DeFi Day. We talked a little bit about this, and immediately three of my own, like I have like a row of stickies of just like different project ideas, and I think SimpleID like matched three of them perfectly. So so why don't you just kind of like say hello, kind of tell us a little bit about SimpleID and what it is.
Sure. Yeah, and thanks for having me on here. So SimpleID is, in a nutshell, an engagement and retention platform for Web3. And what that really means is we are allowing developers, founders, anybody within a Web3 company to interact with their users both in the application and after they've left the application. All of that in a privacy preserving way, which is kind of the thing that's, in our opinion, been missing from Web3. It's probably the biggest hole in Web3 right now is relationship building.
Interesting. And do you mind like kind of expanding on that sort of relationship? I guess like relationship intention, retention. Like how is that important? Why? Like essentially, like how do we know it's missing? Why is it important? And like why is it important for Simple ID to solve it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll take it all the way back to me and my co-founders. We built decentralized apps before, and so we had this problem where even though we had successful apps, right? You have to put air quotes around that in Web3 still. We had successful apps, but we were wondering, what's the missing piece that's keeping us from getting that hockey stick growth? And at first, we thought it was the onboarding problem. So we came together and we decided we were going to solve onboarding, make it much easier. But as it turns out, that's largely a solved problem. If you look at all of the available wallets in the Web3 space, it's really easy to sign into applications now and to use those applications.
Mhm.
And so we took a step back and we thought about what's the actual problem here? And while you hear this thing being said everywhere, every conference you go to, that UX is the biggest problem in the Web3 space, that's true. But to us, the UX problem is actually relationship building, and it's getting people to come back to your app over and over again. If you get them to sign in
It's
once,
customer
yeah,
experience really.
exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
interesting.
Yep, and you need people to come back. You need people to talk about your app, and the only way that you can do that is by building a relationship with them. And so we decided to solve that problem without violating any of the ethos of Web3. Right, everything's privacy preserving, and our entire thesis around this is you can build relationships with people without needing to actually know this person or know data about them. And so that's what Simple ID is.
Could you talk a little bit about the trade-offs that sort of go into that?
Yeah, no. This is a great question. I think the biggest trade off there is it sort of ends up being up to the developer of each app how much they want to use Simple ID. And what I mean by that is you don't need an email address to use most of the product that we've built. You can do in app notifications, you can do segmenting of your users, you can see a dashboard of helpful information to your company. What you won't be able to do, of course, without an email address is email those users.
Hmm.
And so the trade-off is there's a lot of apps out there that use just MetaMask because MetaMask is probably the most privacy-preserving wallet out there. And if you're using that, that's awesome. You don't have to, you don't have to email your users. You can still communicate in-app with them. But if you want that ability to email users, what we're saying is go ahead and pass that email address in. It could be through one of these other wallet providers that already collects that information, or it could be through, a pop-up that you display as a developer. Pass that information in. And the cool thing that we're going to do is we're going to disassociate that email address, which is a real world identity in most cases, right? We're going to disassociate that from the wallet address so that even Simple ID can't map that together. And when it's time for you to email your users, that information comes back together on your device, your computer, or whatever you're using Simple ID on, and it'll send the email off to the correct people in that group. So that's how we continue to maintain privacy, even though email addresses are being passed through. So the trade-off is really just deciding if you want to even suggest to users that they should pass an email through.
Just launched, right? Like last week.
Yeah, that's right. We launched last Wednesday,
Okay.
and
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been hectic, but it's been good. It's got a lot of really good feedback so far, really good reception.
Excellent. Very cool. So if I mean like, I think we'll be releasing this video in a couple of days. We're kind of debuting some micro bounties around growth hacking and about around like sort of reactivating customers around this, which sort of is like it's really awesome synergy with SimpleID. If people were interested in utilizing this tool for their projects, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, it's really simple. So there's two things you have to do. You'll go to simpleid.xyz and there's a sign up button there. Just click that. You'll be able to sign up and generate an app ID. That app ID gets plugged into our SDK. So that's the second part that you'll have to do. A developer will have to do this. So, even though the rest of your team can use SimpleID, a developer does have to install this snippet of code, but it's 8 lines of code. It's really simple. You put the app ID in there and that's it. Just forget about it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's say that they install it, they run into some problems, or they've got questions. You said reception's already been really good. Like, how do they ask for help? How do they kind of if they run into a blocker? Like, what's the best way to talk to y'all?
Yeah, so there's in the Web3 space, I'm sure you know that. I'm sure everybody that participates knows this. There's so many different communication channels. So we're available on Telegram, we're available on Discord, we're available via email, we're available via Twitter. However somebody wants to get in touch with us, all of those contact points are listed on our website, on our documentation, and we're very responsive on all of those.
Fantastic. All right. So in that case, I'll get those. I'll get some of the links from you after this. It's going to be in the show notes down below the video. So be sure to check that out. Justin, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for taking some time just to talk through this.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was really great.
Thank you so much, and we will talk later.
Sounds good.
Bye.